We're into April. That means Q1 sales are in for the automotive industry, and what we're seeing is not looking good. Over automotive news, Toyota edges GM again. They beat GM for the first time ever last year, but they do it again in Q1 as the market is spinning out of control. If you're new to the channel, my name's Kirk. I usually just cover Japanese and Korean cars. There are some exceptions in there. So we'll be focusing mostly on those brands today. So we're going to go through the overview and then go into each individual Asian brand. And if you're into that sort of coverage, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and let's get into this. We have so much to cover today. For the entire automotive industry in North America, for the first 3 months, which is Q1, the market is down 16% for sales volume. BMW is up 3%, and if you include Mini and Rolls-Royce overall, they're up 3.8%. Ford hasn't posted yet. Buick down almost 60%, which isn't helping General Motors because as a total, including Cadillac, Chevy, and GMC, they're down 20%. Honda down 23% as Acura is down to 25.5%. Ouch, really hard to see. Hopefully, maybe we'll get into Honda to explain that, but maybe ILX sales down, but I have a feeling it's going to be their entire fleet. But Genesis here, as the Koreans have had really good supply, Genesis is really benefiting from the Korean separate supply chain. So Genesis is up 42.6%. And we're at 11,723 units for Q1. Now, I made a prediction, I don't know, was it a month or two ago when I made an Infiniti video talking about how I expect Genesis to outsell Infiniti this year. So far in Q1, that is the situation here. Genesis eclipsing Infiniti by about 500 units or so. So it's happening, and the trajectories, like if this is Infiniti, they're going down and Genesis is going up, if that makes sense. Overall, the Koreans are only down 3.7% in the days of supply chain choking. Mitsubishi only down 6.5%. They're kind of like the shining star of the Mitsubishi Nissan partnership, because you look at Nissan here, down roughly 30% because Infiniti is sinking like a rock, and it has been for a couple of years now. But if it wasn't for Mitsubishi, they'd be down about 30%. So let's keep moving. Stellantis up 33. Oh no, that's Maserati. Stellantis down 13.6%. Not as bad as what we saw with Honda and General Motors. Subaru of America down 17.5%. Well, Subaru has a massive backlog that they're trying to meet. Lexus down 13%. Toyota down about 15% as a total, down 14.7%. And Volkswagen down 23% as well as the whole group, which includes Lamborghini, Porsche, Audi, and Volkswagen. Bentley too. Anyways, we're getting right into Toyota. We're going to break down the individual sales here. And in the past couple of years anyways, Toyota's been using these quarterly press releases to have big announcements. So we'll see if there's anything in here. All right, sales of EVs, including hybrids, is almost 26%. They're the number one seller of electrified vehicles, including hybrids, for the 89th consecutive quarter, and 18 electrified Toyota and Lexus vehicle options, with more available by summer of 2022. 3 more. What are those going to be? BZ4X, Sequoia hybrid, and then what else? Am I missing something? We better keep reading. All right, let's read into some of these highlights. Best ever March sales for GR86, Corolla Cross, RAV4 Hybrid, and RAV4 Prime. So the electrified RAV4s are taking off. That's pretty cool. Best ever first quarter sales for the GR86, Corolla Hybrid, Corolla Cross, Highlander, Toyota total Highlander as well, including the hybrid, RAV4 Hybrid, and RAV4 Prime. On the Lexus end, NX hybrid sales up nearly 40% in March on a volume basis, and that's because their hybrid now is arguably the strongest vehicle in the NX lineup. In the previous generation, the NX hybrid was a complete dog. So anyways, yeah, the roles have reversed there for the new NX. Best March sales for the IS. Well, first March, the IS 500 has been on sales, so that's a bit misleading. If we go back up, I believe this is also the first time the Corolla Cross has been on sale. So of course it's going to best ever March. NX hybrid, NX plug-in hybrid. Again, this is the first quarter and the first month that has ever had the NX plug-in hybrid. Best first quarter ever for EVs for Lexus, and even the best month for the aging and not recommended RXL. Fascinating times. Maybe they're able to produce more RXLs for some reason than normal RXs. That would be my guess. Or maybe there's just higher profit margins there, so they're trying to produce more of those in the crazy supply chain system. All right, looking at Toyota car sales here. The whole division is down 27%. Rest in peace to Avalon, down 358%. The GR86 is up 326%. Isn't it funny that Corolla and Supra numbers are down about the same percent compared to last year? Mirai only down 17%, but look at the volume here, 715 units. I mean, the Supra is outselling it nearly 2-1. Avalon down 58%, as production is, I'm sure, slowing down there as they cancel that model this year. Prius minus 26%, but if they could supply the Prius, I'm telling you, the sales would be through the roof with the gas prices right now. Same thing with the Corolla hybrid and Camry as well. Camry doing fairly well here, down just 21%. Lexus sedans getting smacked. IS down 26%. RC, well, it's the RC, so that car only selling 400. The Mirai is outselling the Lexus Coupe. ES down only 1.4%. That is fascinating that it is doing that well. LS down 48%. Doesn't surprise me. Only selling 589 units. Also getting outsold by the Mirai. And the Lexus LC down 32%. To be honest, it's surprising me that the LS has sold more units this year compared to the LC. Because the LC convertible is like the best, one of the best Lexus ever made. Anyways, CHR down 60%, as I feel like they're really dialing it back. They could eventually cancel it and give us another BZ, like a BZ3X to replace it. So we'll see there, but I do think the Corolla Cross, now that it's being produced here, I mean, look at the numbers. It's 2 to 3 times better sales than the CHR. So yeah, the Venza actually outselling the Corolla Cross right now. That's surprising. The Venza is still down 20% compared to last year. Highlander just look at the volume. I know I'll get back to the RAV4, but the volume of the Highlander is really impressive. And the Highlander's actually been up 3.4%. And guys, when I do these long sales updates, I'm going to have interruptions from the kiddos, especially early in the morning. So keep that in mind. And I apologize for that. But we also have the RAV4 up, doing decently well. They're still cracking over 100,000 units. So they're still on pace to sell over 400,000 units for the RAV4 this year, even though they're down about 11-12%. Rest in peace, Land Cruiser and the Sequoia. Looks like the production's pretty much stopped on that vehicle as they're tooling up for the new generation built in San Antonio. Sienna, unfortunately, not able to meet the demand either, down about 25%, selling about 20,000 units. And the Sienna is, it's very, very highly sought after, especially with fuel prices the way they are right now. Tacoma down 20%, but the Tundra's up 18%. So demand for the Tundra remains strong, and it's interesting that out of all the vehicles here, the Tundra is the one that's the most up, not including the GR86. Looking at the Lexus SUVs and trucks, UX down about 9%, NX down 30%. Oh, that hurts so bad, because remember, a year ago was the previous generation NX on sale. So the new NX, they just aren't able to get the parts to supply the demand. I'm sure that's happening everywhere in the world for that vehicle. RX down just 4%. You gotta remember, it's an older vehicle. They probably don't have that big of an issue with the supply chain on that car. GX also being a really old vehicle, down about 5-6%. LX down 60%, and I think the reason is they are switching over to the new one. And we know that there's, gosh, if you look in Japan, there's a 4-year waiting list for the LX and the Land Cruiser. So yeah, it's just going to be a while before the LX production gets up where it needs to be. And overall, Lexus SUVs down 12%. Now, there's some hybrid stuff here. You know, the hybrids were a shining moment for Toyota and Lexus when there weren't very many in the first quarter. So you guys can pause here if you want to check out these hybrid numbers, but we need to keep moving. Going to Honda. The HRV set an all-time monthly sales record and a 14 straight monthly mark, sustaining momentum for the April reveal of the all-new 2023 HRV. The HRV actually gets unveiled tomorrow at the time of this recording, so definitely stay tuned because I'll have something on it. Acura highlights, let's see if there's anything sticking out here. Demand for the TLX Type S lead Acura sedan sales to nearly 3,300 units. Best sales month for the MDX since May of 21. All right, checking out the sales here for Honda. As a total so far in first quarter, it's down 23%. And we're going to go straight to the models here at the bottom half. Accord down about 10%. Civic down 31%, which is tough to see because demand for the new car is really, really high. The new Civic's really good. Clarity, rest in peace, down 90%. Insight down 51%. And that might be an indication of them starting to reduce supply there, as more than likely they're going to just replace it with the Civic hybrid as we saw in Europe with the 2-liter hybrid system. CRV down 37%, but the HRV up 61%. Honda, you don't need to bring out the new HRV because who knows what kind of technology is in there that's going to limit the production. Because whatever is in the HRV right now, apparently it's cheap as dirt to make, and apparently it's so basic that it doesn't need a lot of the microchips and stuff like the rest of the vehicles. I mean, wouldn't be surprised if they would be able to make the HRV, the current gen, and then also come out with the new gen, like as to ease the switch over, because yeah, that is impressive. You want to keep your volume sellers going. If you switch to a new model in these times, you might not be able to have the supply due to the new parts and things in it. Anyway, Odyssey down 44%, Passport down about 10%, Pilot down 24%, Ridgeline down 27%. Going to Acura, ILX up 26%. Again, old vehicle, probably cheap to produce. NSX, well, rest in peace, because yeah. RLX, rest in peace. They sold 2. A couple of those sport hybrids out there probably that are still hanging around on lots. TLX down 51%. What? How is it so bad? Holy, that's hard to see where the sales get halved on the TLX. And then we look at the MDX down 20%, the RDX down 32%. Still a really tough start for Acura here in the first quarter. Now, if we look at the month to date, let's see if there's any hope here. Are things getting better? Maybe slightly because the TLX is down 41%. MDX is seeing worse supply issues. The RDX looks like it's easing up a little bit. Looking at the Honda SUVs, it doesn't look like it's getting any better other than the HRV. And then looking at the Honda sedans for the month, I mean, Civic even had a worse month compared to the rest of the quarter. So it's just a bloodbath for Honda and all these manufacturers. But man, Honda is looking really, really drab right now. Going over to Mazda, before we get into the sales, they're jacking up the prices on some of their models here. Mazda 3 gets an increase. CX-30 gets an increase. CX-5, CX-9, and MX-5. So most of their lineup here are getting price jacks mid-year. And that starts April 2nd. Thank you, supply chain. Thanks, wars, and thanks, shutdowns. Let's keep moving here. Mazda reports March sales. Best March sales ever for the CX-5 and best March sales ever for the CX-9. Even though they're both kind of getting replaced. CX-9 is definitely getting replaced with the CX-90 in the next year or two. CX-5, it's going to be interesting. I think they're going to pull a Toyota here. What Toyota's doing with the CHR. It's like, oh yeah, no, the CX-50 is not going to replace the CX-5, but I have a feeling that in time it will. And they're too similar to both exist, in my opinion. All right, looking at the Mazda sales, we're going to look at year to date. Mazda 3 hatchback up 68%, but the sedan is tanking. Still don't understand what's going on there, why the big difference. Mazda 6, rest in peace, selling just 325 units. MX-5 is really suffering this year, and I've heard stories, I have viewers around the world, and they said that the supply is just, there's zero supply of the MX-5. They haven't received any for a long time. So yeah, hopefully you're not waiting for an MX-5 because you're going to continue to be waiting for a long time. It looks like CX3, rest in peace. They didn't sell one remaining CX3 in the first quarter, so they're all gone. CX30 down 35% for their new replacement for the CX3, essentially. CX5 having a hell of a first quarter of 24%. Keep that cash cow around as long as you can. I wonder if what kind of volume is going to be available for the CX50, as now production is on the way from the plant in Alabama. CX9 up 11% for the quarter. And if we look at the month to date, things are even looking better for the CX9 and the CX5 of plus 43% quarter for March for the CX5 is just phenomenal. So overall, Mazda's only down about 1 to 2% on a volume change. That is impressive compared to what everyone else is suffering through right now. They were actually positive on a year-over-year volume change for the month of March. There's one more selling day, so their daily selling rate is slightly lower, but their volume's up. And we're going to go to Infiniti and Nissan here, and it's going to be tear-jerking more than likely. So Infiniti continues to free fall. Quarter one sales down 41%. And that is really just falling in line of what we've seen the past few years for Infiniti. Q50 down 43%, Q60 up 12%, QX50 down 46%, QX60 they still can't supply it. And there's hardly any volume for the QX60 on the market last year, and it's even worse. So even the redesign can't save itself. The QX80 down 76%, selling just a quarter of what it was last year. So their car division down 36%, their SUV down 43%. Let's just keep moving because that's too depressing to hang on to. Heading to Nissan, Ultimus sales were up about 20%. Nearly 38,000 units, and the Frontiers were up 108% in the first quarter. Holy cow, this is so we have some good news here for Nissan, unlike Infiniti. Versa down about 90% as they want to allocate chips for more profitable cars. The Versa just not very profitable, it looks like. Sentra down 27%, Ultima up 20%. Don't understand why that vehicle's up so much for the rest of them. I guess if the same chips go into the Ultima and as they do in the Sentra and Versa, you would just allocate those chips to the more profitable Ultima. Maxima, I don't know why it's still around, but it's actually sold nearly 3,000 units, which is less than a tenth of what the Ultima is selling. That's quite staggering. Leaf sales remain really, really strong, up about 50%. Z, rest in peace, as the 370 as we wait for the new Z to come out. Can't wait to drive it next month. It'll be so much fun. Anyways, Nissan Kicks down just 16%, not having too rough of a go. Frontier, look at that, selling 22,000 units. So the Frontier, guys, if you need a pickup truck, it looks like you might have some decent availability for that car or truck. Titan down 14%, Pathfinder kind of neutral here, and that is along the actually saw the new Pathfinder yesterday, parking garage, but actually falls in line with the Highlander. The Highlander wasn't down that much, so large three-row crossover demand remains strong. Looks like they can't supply the Armada or the QX80, as they're both down about 75 to 80%. Rogue down 48%, and that's their cash cow. So that's really tough to see. And if you look in the day and age of dying sedans, the Ultima is almost, with at 38,000, it's almost selling as much as the Rogue at 45,000. Pretty impressive. Murano down 20%. Their vans are dead, so I don't need to cover that. As we move forward, though, Nissan considers dealer margin cut on the Aria EV to offset research and development. So, yeah, we're seeing the battles between manufacturers and dealers here as profitability becomes really tough with EVs. So, the dealers could receive only an 8.5% profit margin on the Aria instead of 11%. The Aria is already pretty expensive, and if the dealers are not getting their cut like they're used to, then they're going to just jack up the sticker price. In theory, going to hurt the sales of the Aria, which is already pretty expensive, and Nissan could Was that a pun? Which is already expensive. Anyways, and Nissan could be running out of its EV credits this year, just like Toyota. But the way it sounds is those credits probably will be unavailable like early next year. So if you were buying an Aria or a Leaf this year, you're still going to get the tax credit more than likely. Subaru America. So Subaru's been struggling really hard lately to keep up with demand. So looking at the Forester, down 34% year to date. Impreza down just 3.6%. WRX XDI, so that vehicle, rest in peace, essentially. It doesn't look like they're supplying any of the new ones yet because the volume's down 90%. Ascent up 1.6%. So the Ascent is back on the rise. Legacy down 12%. Outback down 20%. That's tough. Outback's like, the cash cow here. Same thing with the Forester, right? I have the Forester Wilderness Edition in my driveway right now for review. I'll give you guys that. BRZ though, just like the GR86, sales here are massive, and they're up 67%, and Crosstrek up well as well, kind of like the HRV for Honda, seeing some positive numbers as they're I guess fairly easy to make and produce in comparison to their siblings in the lineup. Heading to the Koreans now. Hyundai's Q1 retail sales increased 1.4%. Just like we saw with the Versa sales being hurt pretty hard, the Accent for that small sedan segment. The Elantra doing a little bit better here, down 15%. Ioniq, not the Ioniq 5. This is the Ioniq plug-in hybrid, EV, and normal hybrid, down 14%. But if you look at this, guys, Ioniq 5 is outselling the old Ioniq. That's pretty crazy. And the old Ioniq isn't canceled yet, as far as I'm aware. So they've sold over 6,000 units of the Ioniq 5 here in North America for Q1. So you extrapolate, times that by 4, they're going to sell about 25,000 Ioniq 5s for Hyundai this year. That's not bad volume. Kona, unfortunately, down 31%. That market's really, really hot. So Kona sales are down 31% as the HRV's like, feed me. I can keep production up. The Crosstrek was doing well in addition. Nexo up 113% as fuel cell. There's 166% that have access to fuel cells there. Palisade down just 1% as the three-row crossovers again, whether we're looking at the Ascent or the Highlander. I mean, I know Honda was struggling a little bit with the Pilot and Passport on their end, but the Koreans and other Japanese brands are taking advantage of the low Honda volume there. Santa Fe down 10%, not too bad. Sonata down 62%. So Sonata parts are probably like, hey, we can make a little bit more money here on the Santa Fe or something, or the Tucson, because Tucson sales are up 20% on the new crossover. That's impressive for a new car, but it looks like, they're probably just vampiring and sucking chips from the Sonata and parts from the Sonata to put in the Tucson, which is, in theory, probably higher profit margins. Veloster down 33%. Essentially, we just have the Veloster in left, which is really hard to find still. And the Venue, the tiny little crossover boxy thing, 6,500 units, up 13% though, kind of like the HRV doing well. Kia America gains market share in first quarter as electrified vehicle sales grow at a rapid pace. So going back to Hyundai, if we looked at the Ioniq 5, so 6244, if we go to the EV6, it does look like there's a little bit more Ioniq availability here in comparison to the EV6. But if you look at the month of March, things are really taking off for the EV6, 3156, where the Ioniq 5 didn't have that same sort of production volume. So it looks like the Kia end is able to increase supply here for the month of March and going forward. Kia Rio, people need cheap cars. It's still down. And Kia doesn't give us percentages. Forte is about a wash here, slightly down. K5 down as well, selling less than last year. Stinger is up. You got to save the fun cars, I guess. So Stinger's up on the year. That's cool. Soul is down. Nero's doubled. So people want those electric cars. And this is kind of more the cheap end, not the performance end of EVs. So we saw the Nissan Leaf doing really, really well. And it looks like Nero's following suit there. Now, Nero's also can be had in plug-in hybrids and hybrids as well, kind of like the Ioniq non-5. Anyways, Seltos getting its butt kicked right now. They can't provide that hot compact crossover. The Sportage down as well, but they're kind of in that transition for the new Sportage. So yeah, they're probably lowering production volume as they switch over to the new model. Sorento not having the worst of goes here, and Telluride is actually positive, just like the Palisade was doing well. Carnival and Sedona looks so. We saw that the Odyssey as well as the Sienna are getting smacked, but it looks like Kia is able to provide us with some decent sales on the Carnival, up probably around 20-30% compared to last year. So they sold 4,051 units. The Odyssey still crushing it in sales, selling 11,000 units, and the Sienna still crushing that, even as the only hybrid Sienna sold 20,000 units. But I'm going to end it there. A long video today. I love looking at what's doing well, what's getting rocked, what companies are rising and which companies, and like Infinity, are just, you don't have a bottom in sight. They just continue to free fall. But anyways, guys, I'll see you down below. If you enjoy the first, what I call the kind of like the first of the month series, where I go over the sales numbers, and this is a big deal because Q1 is kind of, it's kind of in theory setting the precedent for the rest of the year. Hopefully supply chains get better, and it looked in some cases that March, like especially for Mazda, things were getting a little bit less restricted compared to January, February. So fingers crossed, things get better as the year goes on. I don't think it can get any worse. I think the war stuff, people have kind of sidestepped. They kind of wiggled around that for the time being, even though it's affecting the European automakers a lot more. But the companies are figuring out more ways to adjust to the lack of supplies, whether it's from China or Ukraine or whatever. But anyways, I'll see you in the next video. Smash the like button if you haven't, and peace out.